This conference will now be recorded.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome. Today is Friday, October the 30th, last working day of the month, and just want to wish everybody a happy Friday and welcome everyone. We have sort of gone ahead and taken roll call just to ensure that we had a quorum to continue. And so at this time, if everyone that is not a board member, if you could introduce yourselves, please, and present yourself so that we know that you're present.
And maybe we'll start from, let's see, so I'm looking here. If we can start with Ben Harrison.
Hi, this is Ben Harrison from Congresswoman Escobar's office, staffer.
Welcome.
Okay, and Anson Blackall?
Hello, everyone. My name is Anson Blackall. I'm with SIA Solutions supporting Fort Bliss.
Thank you. And then everyone, we all know at this time, we all know Paul Stewart very well with Fort Bliss. But Paul, would you like to let everyone know what your new title is with your section there at Fort Bliss? You're on mute.
This is Pat Bulatovich. I'm not sure if Paul is attending. I'm Patrick Bulatovich. I'm the
Plans Analysis Integration Office.
Ooh, Pat, we're getting some feedback from you. I'm not sure. Pat, can you go ahead and mute? Okay, thank you so much. And so I'm gonna make the joke and say that Pat's the old Paul, so he is in that position now, and Paul Stewart is serving as the chief for that division. So we'll be hearing a presentation from them as well. And then Andrea, I don't know if you want to show your screen as well as your glasses that were so entertaining early on.
Happy to, and this is Andrea Sojo. We look forward to our presentation here through, I think, midway through the agenda. And I also have a couple teammates on the line. So Fred Wegley, I think, is on the phone, and then Rhiannon Schweitzer. So that is part of the Army Partnership Program support and support of Pat and Paul. So you can skip over those introductions to save time in that. Thank you.
Okay, great, thank you so much. And then we do have Susie Bird with Congresswoman Escobar's office as well.
Great. Yes, Susie Bird, I'm the District Director for Congresswoman Escobar here in El Paso. I'm really glad to be with you today and with my colleague Ben Harrison in our DC office to update you on the Congresswoman's work to develop a binational response to COVID in the region. Thank you.
Thank you. And then last, we do have Leila Melendez, our CEO from Workforce Solutions Borderplex.
Hi, good morning, everybody. Leila Melendez, CEO of Workforce Solutions Borderplex. I'm going to share with you just some really quick data regarding each of the economies of the different counties within our region. And then we'll follow up a little bit on some activity related to unemployment benefits and work search requirements as a result of the latest order issued last night. So we can talk about that a little later this morning. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. And so I think those will be the introductions. Okay. One thing that I would ask if I would be allowed, Judge Guevara, is to, when we do our agenda, if we can do the administration items first. I know that'll be out of order, but that will allow our presenters to go first and give them a little bit more time to get that through, and then we can follow up with our business. That way we'll let them get back to work.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So now
and this is Ellen Smythe. I just want to let you know I finally logged in. Sorry about that.
Thank you, Ellen. Appreciate it.
And it's Commissioner Robinson. I'm checking in.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner. Appreciate that.
This is Christian Benitez with City of El Paso. Wow.
Thank you, Christian. Appreciate it.
Meeting. I have my new emergency coordinator here with me this morning.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, great. All right, so we'll go ahead and go on to our very first item, which is to approve the minutes from the previous meeting, and the minutes that we need to approve are from August 21st, 2020. Has everyone had a chance to review those Or do y'all need a minute just to go over them briefly? I went over them. I didn't see anything, any corrections that needed to be made. Has everybody had a chance to look at the minutes?
Yes.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion at this time.
So moved. This is Summer.
I think we have Leon as the first one. And
Okay.
Mayor Webb, would you be a second?
So we
Yes,
have
ma'am.
a motion by Commissioner Webb and a second by Mayor Webb. And all those in favor say aye.
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 Okay. So that's unanimous and motion carries. The minutes are approved. Is there anyone online who would like to make a public comment at this time? Do we have anyone that would like to make a comment regarding an item that is not on the agenda at this time? Looks like today we do not, so we'll just go ahead and continue. If you look at your agenda, there are the finance items, but
Go to 5.
Annette has asked that we continue on to administration for right now, so we'll go ahead and do that. And we're at item number 5, strategic engagement team for Fort Bliss. And this is just an information item for everyone. No action is required. And who will be our presenter for this item, Annette?
Yes, Judge Cavada, we do have several members from the team who will talk about what they're going to be rolling out in the very near future. And I think that one thing just to mention to everyone as a reminder, this is, I would like to think, a follow-up on the engagement that we established with Fort Bliss a year ago through Paul Stewart. And so we're serving as a liaison with Fort Bliss in meeting with cities and counties and other districts who might be able to partner with Fort Bliss and using that as a way to maximize resources and reduce costs. And so I believe that Andrea will go ahead and lead the presentation. Is that correct?
That's correct, and that we are, Pat and I will be co-presenting. So if Pat is back on the line, I'll turn it over to Pat for opening remarks here before we get started.
Okay, great. Thank you.
All right. Hey, good morning, council members. My name is Pat Bulatovich. On behalf of the Fort Bliss Command Team, Garrison Commander Colonel James Stewart, and the Deputy Garrison Commander, Mr. Frank Lands, I'd like to extend our appreciation for the invite to this meeting this morning. I work within the Plans and Analysis Office. I'm the lead for the Fort Bliss Intergovernment Support Agreement Program here on the installation. Today, I'd like to introduce the Strategic Engagement Team. We're fortunate enough to have them in our corner until September of next year. And this team are the subject matter experts in reference to developing the process of forming the business relationships between the military community and the governments outside its gates, in this case, the Rio Grande Council of Governments. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce the lead to the Strategic Engagement Team, Ms. Andrea Soja, for a short brief.
Thank you, Pat. And again, thank you all for the opportunity here. As Pat referenced, we're grateful to be here, delighted really to give a little bit of a program overview on the work we hope to be accomplishing over the next year in collaboration and great support of the Fort Bliss Garrison team that has ownership of this initiative. So again, my name is Andrea Soja. I have several of my teammates on the line as well, and we are essentially an augmented contracted support team that comes in to support not just the garrisons, but really the regional stakeholders and potential partners at large here. So this introduction meeting is a great opportunity. We did have a chance to speak with Annette last week to get a little bit more of a background, and she got us spun up to speed here on some of the initiatives that have been happening locally. But a great opportunity for us to introduce ourselves, as we will likely be reaching out to you as potential stakeholders in this process and future partners. Annette, I'll ask if you're running the slides or whomever is to just jump straight to slide 3.
Okay.
Fantastic. Okay, so let's do something fun, just by like a show of a fist pump if you're on video. Who has been introduced or is at least mildly familiar with this partnership authority, the Intergovernmental Support Agreement Authority. Okay, one of the benefits of, you know, these virtual engagements now is that I can see your faces and get to see that. We probably have a varying mixed group here of different stakeholders that have varying levels of understanding on this particular partnership authority. So I'm going to keep it really brief, quick summary. What is so unique about this partnership tool is that it is a standalone vehicle that enables the Department of Defense, so that includes all services. We're focused on the Army here today, but it doesn't enable and empower the DoD services to enter into sole source partnerships, business relationships with a public partner, a public entity. So that is in the interest of either sharing, providing, or receiving installation support services. So that is, you know, if you are familiar with the National Defense Authorization Act, it's a set of authorities that are codified in code. So this particular authority, if you would like to do some light research this weekend, is codified in 10 U.S.C. 2679. And the reason I sort of get into a little bit of the detail there is, again, just to highlight that this is a unique tool because it enables you to sole source partner under this legislative authority. It was originally introduced in fiscal year 13 under that NDAA, and when it first came out, as you know, many of you are involved in getting a law or, you know, policies through the pipeline, it wasn't perfect. There have been modifications and congressional changes that have been made to this authority to improve efficiencies in being able to develop these very unique partnerships. So we have, myself and my team, we've been supporting the Army for the past several years in standing up this program. And we truly bring that extra level of program expertise, situational awareness, best practices, lessons learned. We bring that support to the garrison so that they're not starting from scratch with how to figure out how to stand up a program. So the Army is leading all of the services with their number of IGSAs in execution. We're now at 74. A major, you know, benefit to the Army and the services is that it does generate significant cost savings when we transition out of a standard contract into an intergovernmental support agreement. But that's not the only driver of this program. We are definitely here to create mutually beneficial win-win partnerships where the partners are receiving you know, equal, if not greater, benefits from these opportunities as well. So that Venn diagram, if you're able to see it clearly, and we'll certainly make sure these slides get out to the broader group here, but we have great case history and you know, lessons learned from the partners as well, and where these benefits are emerging. So just want to end on this slide with the point that we're here to support Pat as the lead for Fort Bliss with this initiative, but we are also here to support the partners in this program. So we jumped over slide 4, which if there's a delay, I covered a lot of the highlights and objectives of the program. So I think if we're not going to bounce back, I'm going to just pause here then on slide 5, which shows the audience that we are not just at Fort Bliss this year, we are also working closely with White Sands Missile Range, that staff there. So there could be some potential regional collaboration, which is certainly a trend that we're seeing in the program, where we plug into a council of governments or some other executive agent to really shape not just, you know, what are the opportunities directly outside of the fence line, what are the regional opportunities we could be looking to leverage here through this program. Okay, I'm going pretty quick.
Can you just let me know when to forward the slide, and I'm sorry for the delay.
Sure, no problem. I think I'll pause here for just a second if there's any questions so far. I'm trying to squeeze a lot in here, but I'll pause in that for just a second if anyone has any questions.
I do. I have a question. I'm not on mute, right?
No, you're good.
So I'm not really sure how the cost savings comes about in partnering with the regular governmental programs. Could you talk a little bit more about how that's actually done?
Absolutely, I'd be happy to. So on from the Army perspective, when they enter into a traditional contract, which if you're familiar with the Federal Acquisition Regulation, it's termed the FAR, right? So there's a lot of bureaucracy for good measure and lots of really sound principles that go into ensure that the federal government is doing business in the right way. So the FAR adds quite a bit of, I'll call it red tape. It's not a negative, it's just bureaucracy that does increase the cost of doing business. And so if you look at a traditional FAR contract, when we, through the right measures and have vetted that opportunity appropriately and deem that it's a viable intergovernmental support agreement with a committed partner, we typically see about a 30% reduction in cost for the DoD partner, the Army in this case, because we are removing those FAR regulations and contract requirements, and then we have direct communication with the partner under the IGSA authority. So a lot of the cost savings are through that exit out of a FAR relationship into a partnership. Now, there are other areas where we see cost savings too, and that is we might find a local partner that understands how to do local business, and there are economies of scale of having that partner right outside the fence line. So the big savings really come through that transition out of the FAR, and then there are other cost savings and efficiencies created by having a local or regional partner involved. Did that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you. Does anyone else have any questions so far? Okay, go ahead.
Okay, great. So we'll move on to slide 6 then, Annette, if you don't mind.
Okay, little delayed, but it'll be coming.
Yeah, we got it. I can see it at least. So again, just in reference to a meeting that Pat and my team had with Annette here recently, we had, there's a bit of training for my team as well. So we got caught up to speed with some of the local efforts here, tracking the memorandum of understanding that was signed in August of 2019. And for, just to share sort of where we plug in, we've supported many garrisons over the years. And you saw that slide here, we're at 15 locations in FY21 alone. So my primary indicators if we know we're going to be successful or not is if we have commitment from the partners on a regional level. So walking into the Bliss environment and seeing this MOU was such a fantastic start, because we understand that there is commitment there. We're very excited to be working with Annette and your team to continue to flesh out what has already been pre-identified by Fort Bliss as focus areas. They are an extremely organized team that has already done a lot of the heavy lifting in terms of understanding what their needs and requirements are. That said, part of our methodology is not to come in with a laundry list to the partners and say, how can you help us? We absolutely want to have, through this process, an understanding of how we can collaborate and find those regional opportunities for which to be successful. So there's homework to do on both sides, and we ask that this group consider how else can Fort Bliss and their leadership team support the communities. I think our times now are very trying. I'm tracking the latest status there in El Paso. I'm actually in Fort Collins, Colorado. So we are in unprecedented times, and it's such a great petri dish for partnerships, I'll call it, because we are needing to work together because it's one community at the end of the day. So all that to say on slide 6 is we are absolutely going to do our homework inside the fence, but we ask that the partners come to the table with areas and opportunities where we can support in a mutually beneficial way. Pat, I'll pause here and back to you if there's any additional comments on this slide and any highlights of some of the opportunities you've already pre-identified. So back over to you, Pat.
Yeah, if you look on the slide, you'll see there's 8 project areas that we broke down basically from Fort Bliss and what we see as a need. And this is just a snapshot. This doesn't mean that these are set in stone. We're just looking for that partnership with the Rio Grande Council and whatever is needed on your end. And when you introduce those items to us, then that can go up into this schematic of things that we're looking to proceed on. So this is just a working document that you see on the screen there, the ICSA partnership project areas. And we're very interested in finding out what you need from us. So that's where the strategic engagement team is going to be that piece to link the garrison to the council members. And going forward, we're hoping to utilize this program a lot more. Over.
Great, thank you, Pat. Any questions on that slide, or we can certainly, Annette, you're fine on slide 7. I think we're wrapping up here, but just want to pause if there are any other questions so far.
I would ask for our board members to consider perhaps, and I am putting the team on the spot, but maybe this would be an opportunity for you all to have them available for one of your council meetings, or at least maybe if you have workshops or one of your committees. Because when Paul and I were talking about this and how we were approaching it, we wanted to first go to our procurement officers and have the discussion with them. And that had some opportunities that expanded from it, but I think that maybe perhaps council and the county, you all would want to hear that as policy decision makers to know what would maybe be some ways that you can partner with Fort Bliss in terms of sharing some costs.
Great recommendation in that, and certainly if there are no complimentary comments there, we absolutely, as a part of our support to Bliss, we are available to do tactical trainings on the authority itself. I'm presenting very high level information here, so please do consider that, and Pat and I are happy to work directly. Pat's your primary point of contact, and then he can engage us to plug in where needed to provide that additional training. Before I go through the logistics here on this last slide, just to give you a little bit of a flavor on the trends that we're seeing in the program, part of our support does include site visits. We are absolutely mindful of the COVID environment currently and tracking HPCon status and local travel conditions. Our hope is to eventually, if safe and partners are willing to accommodate, we do hope to have in the future a face-to-face engagement with partners. But in the meantime, we're certainly able to leverage virtual technology to stay connected and to provide the training where required. So just wanted to note, Annette, that we do plan to work with Pat to coordinate a potential future site visit where we come out and we're there on the ground locally to meet face-to-face in small groups, etc. Okay, so slide 7 is just a snapshot of the trends that we're seeing in the program, and I'll start with a focus on that top line item there. We have certainly seen, if you're familiar with the blanket purchase agreement down in San Antonio between the Alamo Area Council and Joint Base San Antonio, JBSA's team did a great job there of working with Diane Rath and ACOG to stand up a partnership that I think is going to be a bit of a model here for future initiatives. We certainly understand that your conditions and your stakeholders are different. We never try to squeeze something into a previous package, but we are learning a lot through that example alone. We also have recently supported the Northern Virginia Regional Commission to stand up a partnership with multiple installations, Marine Corps and Army, to stand up a partnership with the Virginia Department of Transportation. So again, we're starting to see, as we get more savvy and more experience with this tool, we're using it and leveraging it in different ways. So I want to inspire everyone here to really think big picture. We can do a lot with this tool. It doesn't just have to be for a one-off installation support service. We have the experience now to really push the boundaries with this tool, and we're excited to see what we can uncover here in this area. Next slide, please, Annette.
It's coming.
Okay, no problem. This is a kind of a boring slide, but maybe important. Just wanted to let you know that's the full list of the team. We are directly connected to the Army's Installation Management Command Intergovernmental Support Program, and we have great reach back support to that command. A part of this process is we are supporting the approval of any of your concepts that come through. So there's a real quick summary here, really 2 phases in this program where we have to figure out what the good idea is, get that good idea approved, and then work the brass tacks to get your terms and conditions codified in an actual legally binding document. So a lot of what we do up front is that concept identification, concept development, and then our team shepherds that concept packet, we'll call it. We'll get all savvy on this, don't worry, for the team that supports getting that through the approval process. So this is the group of stakeholders here. There are some resources available if you want to do additional research. But again, this is the contract team that is here to support in collaboration with the IMCOM headquarters. Next slide. So Annette, I've included several case studies of partnerships. I don't think we have time to go through them all. I'm going to pause here. If you want to spend just maybe another minute, I can run through a high-level summary of these, or back over to you if you want to leave time for any questions or discussion. I'll let you decide.
I think maybe we can just give one example of one of the case studies. That way people can kind of understand how they could maybe replicate this process.
Absolutely, happy to do so. So let's go to slide 11 then, because this is an example of a solid waste disposal IGSA between Fort Polk and a local parish there, their parish police jury. And it's a really great example. We were directly involved with establishing this intergovernmental support agreement. There's a little bit of recycling peppered in there, and that my understanding is this would potentially line up with the services that are in your purview. So, keep in mind anything that you are currently providing to your constituents. Any service could then be viable for a potential IGSA partnership with Fort Bliss and potentially even White Sands Missile Range if it's the appropriate service alignment. So one of the, we talked about benefits a little bit, and we covered, how does the Army save money? In this example, the partner was able to increase their credit rating, and it gave them additional capital to invest in resources. So you see some of that highlighted down below in the program benefits. They were able to purchase additional tractors and mowers, and I think one dump truck that you see there in that picture. So that is just a quick snapshot on that one example. There are others in there, and we're certainly here to answer any questions on any of these initiatives. With that, Annette, I'll pause again for any follow-on questions, and if you don't have any now, don't worry, we're around. We hope to get to know all of you a little better through this process and program, but I'll pause there, Annette, for any additional questions.
Okay, does anybody have any questions at this time? That's an excellent presentation. Thank you for being with us today. Yeah, we'd like to stay in touch and continue to hear more about all of this. It's really a good thing, I believe, and especially for El Paso County, to be close with Fort Bliss and to have a closer working relationship with Fort Bliss, especially like you said, in these trying times. And so, any questions by anyone?
And Judge, this is a follow-up, and for the team, Fort Bliss, obviously this is just the first step, and we'll be working with you all, identifying potential meetings, leads, things of that nature. I do see that Michael Hernandez is on this line as well, and Michael's out in Horizon City, and I think that there could be some great potential for partnerships in that area as well. So hopefully we can have an opportunity to speak with them also. And so just to let everybody know that this is just the first step, and we'll be coming back to you. And there might be even some possibilities where this could be expanded to all of our counties, not just within El Paso, because that was something that Paul wanted to reiterate in terms of looking at in our entire region, including New Mexico as well. So just so everybody's aware of what kind of footprint we want to make.
Very good.
Okay, well, Annette, then we will sign off. We'll ask my team to leave the call, and we'll let you guys get back to business. I am very excited for Halloween weekend. It's going to be a little different this year, but thank you again for your time, and we look so forward to getting to work with all of you. Pat, if you had any other closing remarks, over to you, but I will say adios for now.
Thank you.
Adios. Thank you.
No, that's all I have. Thank you, Andrea, for that great presentation, and we look forward to growing this partnership as we go forward. We're targeting a meeting and a site meeting with them in January, but more to follow on that. And if we see initiatives that are possibilities, we'll be reaching out and contacting you and as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, that was a good presentation, and I guess we can go back to our regular agenda.
We'll just keep going through all of them.
Oh, you want to just go that way? Okay, that's right. Okay, so at number 8.
We'll be at number 6 now.
Number 6 now, Binational Health Strategies Act of 2020.
Yes, and so this agenda item is informational as well, but I think it's very timely for everyone on the board to know of what's going on the federal side. And so we do have representatives from Congressman Escobar's office here, but we just wanted to inform everyone that she has introduced the Binational Health Strategies Act of 2020 and bill, and that legislation is designed to protect border communities against the coronavirus pandemic, and that's going to be amending the United States-Mexico Border Health Commission Act, which will direct the U.S. Border Health Commission to assemble a report on COVID-19 response along the border and create binational plans addressing COVID-19 and future infectious diseases. And so obviously it's very timely. We all know what's been going on recently as early as last night. And so if I can, Susie, I can either turn it over to you, or Ben, if you all would want to give some further information on this proposed bill.
You know, Ben, if it's okay, I'll give an intro and then hand it over to you. Does that make sense? Just wanted to let you know, thank you for letting us present to you today and for the invitation to be here. You know, since this has started in March, the Congresswoman has been very engaged in trying to figure out what tools should be available to border communities on both the U.S. and the Mexico side to prevent the spread of the virus. Normally, what would happen is the federal governments would engage on both sides to advance sort of an approach to protect the communities. It has not, unfortunately, happened in this case. So the Congresswoman has been working with her colleagues along the U.S.-Mexico border, and then also with the U.S.-Mexico Border Health Commission, in the absence of that federal leadership, to determine what we need to be doing here in our communities. Certainly, we have seen on this side of the border, you know, very aggressive testing as an example that hasn't been mirrored on the other side of the border. And so what she has wanted to see is what can be put together to make sure that we have similar responses on both sides of the border to protect our communities. And so since we haven't seen that put in place, she has offered up this bill. And also just to let you know, she's been talking very closely with the commission. The commission had been without an executive director for some 3 years. We now have Dr. Martha Vela Acosta, who's been in place since the end of July. She's trying to get sort of a lay of the land, trying to understand what's happening. But hopefully we'll see that commission more of an active partnership in all of our public health efforts in the region. But anyways, I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Ben, who was the lead on this. And also just for your information, as you are having questions about the COVID response from the federal side and you need more information about what's happening, what resources are available, Ben is really the go-to on the legislative team for these issues. So I'm going to hand it over to Ben. Thank you.
Thanks, Susie. That's pretty good. That's pretty thorough overview of kind of what led us to, on the DC side of what led us to introducing the Binational Health Strategies Act. So as Susie was saying, the Congressman has had conversations extensively with some administration officials, including Dr. Fauci, kind of raising, who's a member of the COVID-19 task force, kind of raising the alarm about the need for a binational strategy in regards to COVID-19. And in those conversations, she stressed that, and they've yielded some results in that Dr. Fauci has mentioned bringing it up to the task force and kind of opening some doors elsewhere, but we really still haven't seen that engagement at the federal level, at least at the administration level. So that kind of brought us to this point where we decided that there at least needs to be a piece of legislation directing a body of the federal government to move towards implementing a COVID-19 strategy. So as the slide kind of describes, there's three prongs to the bill. The first is a report that would kind of describe the COVID-19 response on both sides of the border since the start of the pandemic. The second is a binational strategy to address COVID-19 now. Within that, the strategy would have to address a couple items, but doesn't necessarily just have to include these. But some of the items include how a vaccine will be distributed, because we'll hopefully be seeing that in early 2021, if not sooner. But we just want to have a distribution strategy that is in place for both sides of the border. Obviously, contact tracing, testing, as well as another item is how to mitigate the effects of COVID-19 in terms of the economy on both sides of the border. So that's just kind of what the binational strategy should include. But should the commission decide that there are other things that need to be included, obviously there's leeway to include those as well. And then the third prong is that the commission would need to put together a binational strategy to address future infectious diseases. So the border region is prepared in the future for infectious diseases like this. There wasn't really a playbook in place as we're seeing now for COVID-19 or really any infectious disease along the border. So this is just kind of have a playbook in place that would be updated every few years, and then so just something that the border region could point back to. So right now, the bill is co-sponsored by 5 members: Congressman Vela from Texas as well, Congressman Vela, Congressman Cuellar, and Congressman Gonzalez, all from Texas. And then we have Congressman Grijalva from Arizona, and then Congressman Correa from California. So that's the status of the bill right now. And then we're also actively looking for a Senate partner as well to see if there's an appetite on the Senate side to introduce a Senate version. So that's the status of the bill right now, and I'm happy to take any questions that you all may have.
And then also, just in closing, I would like to add, Annette, if you would forward this information to the members, we would love to get endorsements by all of the governing bodies, and any suggestions or thoughts that you might have, not just on this bill, certainly, but on the COVID response, the federal response, what other resources you need. So Annette, if you wouldn't mind just forwarding this, and then also my contact information and Ben's contact information, so that if people have questions, ideas, concerns, if they could share those with us.
Yes, and I did receive a question whether we would be able to take action on this item. I did have it presented as an informational item only, but We will be requesting to have a meeting in November, so we definitely can get this back on the agenda for a resolution for consideration, if that's what I'm hearing you say, Susie. And so then I can also provide our sample resolution to the other city councils and commissioners court for them to consider as well.
Great, thank you.
And I think Representative Schwarzbein might want to say something.
Yes, thank you. Yes, can you all hear me?
Yes.
Great. Thank you again. Thank you again, Ms. Bird, for all that you're doing on behalf of the Congresswoman and everything the Congresswoman is doing to keep our communities safe as best as we can. It's unfortunate that we have local leadership from the city that is simply unwilling or unable to do what's right for the citizens of El Paso. One thing that I think is really important is getting another round of the stimulus done. Fortunately, it's been blocked by the administration and by the Republican-controlled Senate, but it's absolutely imperative as we enter into the worst of this and businesses are hurting, that we do everything we can to get the appropriate amount of relief and aid to our small businesses throughout our community. And so just in terms of comments, that's something I would like to put there in the record there. And again, thank you for everything you're doing. I'm again sorry and embarrassed and ashamed with the actions taken by our mayor over the last 24 hours.
Thank you, Representative Schwarzbein. Definitely want to just make sure you understand and the members of the commission of the Council of Governments, excuse me, understand that that's a huge priority for the Congresswoman. Not only the small business aspect, but she's been really focusing very strongly on advocating for dollars for local governments. We know that as you guys start looking at your next budgets, it's going to be really hard to balance budgets against the needs, the pretty dramatic needs. And so she's been really working not just to make sure you have the additional resources to cover for COVID-related expenses, but also for the dollars that will be lost as a result of dwindling revenues from sales tax, et cetera. So just want to make sure you know that's also on her radar, and appreciate your support on that.
Yeah.
I have a question, if I may, Mr. Harrison. So, what has been the reaction of Mexico's reaction to this act? Have they seemed agreeable to working out a strategy of, from both sides? And my other question is, I wonder if we could get a copy, or where would we go to get a copy of the act itself, just to look at it or to read it?
Yes. So on your second question, you could go to congress.gov, and there should be a way to look up the text there. However, I will also send over the text and a section by section, so that can be distributed to you all, and you can take a look at what's in the bill. Because I actually don't think because sometimes there's a delay in when we introduce a bill and when the text is actually available online. I don't think, and with COVID, it's kind of lengthened a little bit. So I'm happy to do that, so you all have access to that. And then to your first question, so I've had conversations with a group of Mexican officials, with a group of folks from the Mexican embassy on this bill, and they're supportive of the idea of a binational strategy. However, they're they're kind of concerned that while we can amend the original bill that created the Board Health Commission on our end, it doesn't mean that we can necessarily force or we can require the Mexicans to come over to kind of amend the treaty that governs the body. So we told them that we would be happy to work with them further to maybe to make the language a little, a little not better, but more agreeable on both sides. But I think that they're overall, at least in the conversation I had with them, they are agreeable to the concept of a binational strategy, and they would like to provide more support for the commission as a whole. And I would also point to a letter that the congressman did send to both President Trump and President Lopez Obrador. I think it was back in the early summer, requesting that when they met, when the president of Mexico came to the White House, that when they met, they actually discussed a binational COVID strategy. And I don't believe that we received a response on that letter from either end. So that's kind of been the response at the moment. It's definitely at the moment. It's definitely a collaborative environment, at least as it comes to this bill. They're definitely willing to be collaborative. And the reality is that we will most likely be reintroducing this bill in the next Congress. So we'll work with them further to see if there's any tweaks that need to be made to when we reintroduce it in the next Congress.
Does anyone else have any questions or concerns? My concern is I wonder if Congressman Escobar has looked into whether or not Mexico is underreporting the amount of cases in Mexico.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's part of what has sparked this. As you know, that they really are not testing in the same way that we are in the United States. And so, you know, I believe the last time I checked, their positivity rate was something like 50 or 60%. And it's simply because they're the only tests that are being reported through the public health system are the people that are very, very ill and in the hospitals. Those are the only people that really have access to those tests. There is some testing, for example, happening. I believe the Maquilas have done a pretty good job at testing, but they're not reporting those into the public health system. So we simply, other than monitoring deaths, don't have a really clear way of understanding the spread of the virus in Juarez. And certainly, I think from a monitoring perspective, from both sides being able to understand the way the virus is moving in the region, that really complicates the ability to have the surveillance that we need to prevent the spread. So that I think has been one of the driving forces in the Congresswoman really insisting that as U.S. citizens or people that are living on this side, that we really need to understand better what's happening in Mexico. Otherwise, you know, all of the good work that may or may not happen here is going to be for naught because we don't have a good idea of what's happening there.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, if no one else has a question, I just want to thank you for being on today. I'm really glad to hear about this. I think it's a good thing, and wish you all the best of luck in getting this passed.
Thank you so much for having us, and then also just thank you so much for all of the good work. I know everybody's exhausted and worried and concerned about it for our community, and I just appreciate all of your voices and all of your good work doing our best to combat this. And please always look to the Congresswoman as an ally and make sure to keep in touch with us about any further needs that you have.
Thank you. All right. Okay, so we'll go ahead and stay on administration and go to our next item, which is the rural industry.
Yes, so this is a study that was conducted by Workforce Solutions Borderplex on our 5 counties. And Layla had a really good idea that we could showcase this through the board of directors here at the Council of Governments, since we share the same service area. So Layla is going to present the findings from the study that was conducted.
Okay, great. Go ahead, Layla.
Hi, good morning, everybody. I'm Layla Melendez, CEO of Workforce Solutions Borderplex. Thank you all for giving me the opportunity to speak with you all and to address the group here. There's several of the folks on the line are members of our board of directors. I'd like to thank them as well for jumping on and being supportive and listening to the information we're going to share. And those board members actually represent our rural area. They are residents of some of the counties that we serve in far west Texas. But there's a couple of things that I wanted to mention. Given the length of the agenda and the amount of things you all have to go through, I don't intend to go through the entire study. I just more want to talk about it and what we did. But first, before I go into that, I wanted to give an update to everybody on the call regarding, there's a couple of things regarding unemployment benefits and the impact from the workforce perspective. So first and foremost, we know that El Paso County Judge Samaniego imposed a stay-at-home order, or a restriction yesterday evening, and that is having ripple effects once again, very similarly to what happened in March. And we're already fielding many questions from the public, and I anticipate that many of you all will get calls into your offices as well from individuals with questions. Either they are being newly unemployed, perhaps they were employed all of this time and are now facing unemployment. Absolutely, they will have access to unemployment benefits. But it is very likely that there were individuals that were laid off in March and perhaps called back over the summer to that job, and then now are having to be unemployed again. And they are probably wondering, do I get benefits again? Yes, they will. So benefits are as a result of displacement from a job at no fault of the employee. So if a business is having to shut down again and they are laying off their employee again, that employee can refile and reactivate their unemployment insurance claim through TWC. So they just need, their file is recent, and they can file for unemployment for the length of time and the amount of time that they will be unemployed again. So that's the first thing that I wanted to assure everybody. I'm putting in the chat the phone number to our local call center, and then also our website, so that you can share that with your constituents. The second thing I wanted to mention is, as typical with unemployment benefits, in order to maintain and keep those benefits, individuals used to have to be conducting, at least looking for work. Well, that requirement was waived by the governor in March, but it is being reinstated effective November 1. So we've known for some time, and we've been sharing that with the community, that there was an expectation that they would have to start looking for work beginning November 1 in order to continue receiving their benefits. However, given the surge of cases, not only in El Paso, but also across the state and across the country, on Wednesday of this week, TWC informed us, and they are allowing each of the workforce boards across the state the flexibility to modify or lessen the requirement for the work search. And every workforce board is going to have the flexibility on how to modify that requirement. The requirement right now, or currently on the books for us, is a minimum of 3, but we have taken the action, and we have the authority here locally to lessen that to 0 requirements for the month of November. So basically, for the month of November, individuals do not need to conduct any job searches in order to keep receiving their benefits. And we're doing this because we do not want for individuals to feel the pressure to go out into the market and be looking for a job. We're trying to keep people home. And so to further avoid further spread of the virus, we are reducing that work search requirement to 0 effective this coming week. So for the entire month of November, in our entire service area, El Paso County, but all of the counties, all the way out to Presidio County, Brewster, Jeff Davis, Culberson, and Hudspeth. So if any of you receive phone calls wondering if they have to be looking for work in order to get their benefits, no. The answer is no. They will not be required to do that for the month of November. Now, we will continue to monitor the situation and revisit that for the month of December. We are able to modify those requirements on a county by county basis. So we will make that decision as we proceed through the month of November. But I just wanted to make you aware of that. That's something very important, and we're sharing that with all of the folks that are currently on unemployment. The other thing that we are working on that is not in the presentation, but we also have quite a bit of extensive data of the individuals that are on unemployment. And we've also known that one of the greatest impacts from the pandemic was the impact on childcare and also education, and the ripple effect that has had on individuals and their ability to return to work, even work from home types of jobs. Those are still really difficult for people to apply for because of the children that they're having to care for while they're attending school at home. But one of the things we are looking at is there is an option, there's been an availability for some time for individuals to get certified as relative care providers, meaning, and we all know this, we all know that relatives care for one another's children. A family might have a grandparent or aunts and uncles care for their children. Well, there is a way for those relatives to become certified and licensed to care for the children of their relatives. And it's been an option for many years, but perhaps now is the time for us to have more heavily promote that option. We think it can provide multiple benefits. One, it'll allow individuals, if they have a relative that could care for their children, that would allow them to return to work. There's more willingness for a family to leave their children with somebody near in their family rather than sending them to a school or a facility. So perhaps the availability of a relative will help them in returning to employment. Also, if that relative happens to be on unemployment and without a job, they would be able to get paid. Workforce Solutions, through our child care subsidy, can pay for that child care service and that expense to the relative, and it provides an income. So there's a couple of benefits to that. So we are organizing that information, and we will be doing an extensive outreach through our media. We'll send this information to your offices as well, so that we can encourage individuals, if they'd like to be certified and licensed to be relative care providers. There's a few things that they do have to go through, but it does provide, some level of income. So we will send that to you all in case you all have any questions. If people call your offices for questions, but we're going to heavily promote that. So now moving into, at this point, are there any questions that I can answer for anybody on anything I've talked about so far?
Does anybody have any questions? Go ahead, Ms. Melendez.
Okay, thank you. So the next thing that I wanted to share is we at Workforce Solutions, we went through a study of our economy, the economies for every single county in the region. We've done this comprehensively as our entire region, but we wanted to do a focus on each individual county because they each have a different economy, a different profile, different demographics. So we did this earlier this year. Obviously, we started this before the pandemic, and the data is very different. But the process that we went through and some of the information that we identified is helpful to us, because even though today we are dealing with the immediate crisis, we are also trying to position ourselves for a recovery. Do we be ready for a recovery on day one when we can return after the pandemic? What are the things we should be doing now to prepare us and to position us well for each of those counties to help individuals return to work, to help businesses reopen, et cetera. So this information, even though it's very basic and it just shows some demographics, I'm going to just show you the first few slides of the examples for each county and the data that we have for each county. And then I will share this with you all as a group. And then we can follow up a little later, or we can talk one-on-one with each of the judges or partners in each county area. But I want to share with you just some examples of what we identified. So if you can advance to the next slide. I know there may be a little bit of a delay. Yes. So we did this for each of the county areas that is within the Workforce Solutions service area: El Paso, Hudspeth, Culberson, Jeff Davis, Presidio, and Brewster. And then, the point is to identify the major employers, what are the drivers of the economies for each of those counties, what are the demographics, and then help us get a really good understanding of what the makeup is of that county, and then generate maybe some ideas and some conversation starters about how we can, what are some of those things that we can work on for recovery? What are some training programs or small business support, et cetera? Can you go on to the next slide? To give you just an update, like for you to know where we pulled this data from, we relied on demographics from the US Census Bureau from 2017 data. And then as far as industry data, we pulled this through a database that we subscribe to called JobsEQ, and the most recent data that they provided was the last quarter of 2019. So some of the data is just a couple years old, but it is the most recent that's available. And then we will continue. We have now the template, if you will, and as we get new census data, we just plug in the numbers, recalculate, and then have relook at this ongoing as the data refreshes. Next slide. So the first, I'm just going to go through Culberson County so you can get an idea of what we did for each county. So here we just identify where the region actually is, some of the major interest points. Next slide. Some basic demographic data about the population, what the increase or decrease has been, what the makeup of the population is, and then also the educational attainment of the residents within that county. Next slide. And then we also pulled some additional household income data, a comparison to the state. So for example, the state's median household income is $60,600. We compared each county to that state average. And then also we compared the poverty rates, which age groups or which populations or groups are most impacted by that poverty rate, how many households, and then median property values. And the change over certain years. Next slide. And then we also identified some key findings, how many people are employed within each county, what those average wages are, how many business establishments are there, and then which industries or which industry sectors have show the best job growth or the most moderate losses over the last 5 years. And then we've done that for each county, and each county is very different, which is really of interest to us because just with, from one county to the next, those industries are pretty different. And then we also show which is the fastest growing sector in the region for each of those counties. And this is where I think we can really strategize with each of the partners in those counties on how can we support that? How can we encourage and support that growth into those industries? How can we do more of it and ensure that that growth actually does happen and is sustained? And then whether, some of the other industries, whether they show a growth or a positive or negative growth. Next slide. We also showed this for each county. This shows us the most common occupations, the most and the least common occupations, and that's based on how many people are employed in that. So for example, Culberson County, the people in the workforce, the biggest cluster is within the accommodation and food services and in healthcare, and then also mining and oil and gas. The most specialized, these industries are a little bit different. The most specialized being when it comes to skills and technical qualifications, mining and oil and gas are the most specialized. And then the last column is the highest paying. So there might be fewer employees in those industries, but those are the highest paying occupations for that county. And in this case, utilities and manufacturing are the highest paying for the Culberson County. Next slide. And then this slide is just, this is a big eye chart. So this is just information for us to look at as in totality. But if you click, I think I put some advanced, I put some animation in here, I think. There we go. So what we did is we highlighted, this is just a snapshot of all of the industries. And the highlights in green are those industries with the majority of people or employees within those industries. So you can see how many employees are in there, and then like the average wages for those employees in those industries. And then if you click again, the next group will show us the highest paying occupations. So you can see here, example, utilities, there are only 39 people in those occupations, but they have the highest wages. So this gives you a comparison and a really great snapshot to understand the economy and what is really driving the economy for each county. Next slide. So we did this for each county. I don't want to necessarily go through each one. I wanted to just share with you the process and what we discovered for each county. And again, I'll share this with you, but I think that this is going to be something of major focus for our workforce board to really work with the leadership in your counties, if whoever those leaders are in each county, that varies. But I'm going to look to you to let us know who to include in those conversations so that we can brainstorm and strategize where can we put our effort and where can we put our resources, training resources, childcare resources, etc., to help your respective counties in the economic recovery. So I welcome any questions you may have. You can look for this report in your inbox over the next couple of days, and then we can do some one-on-one meetings with you and with some other individuals. We're happy to coordinate, small groups, small committees or small groups, or if you'd like for me to present this to your own boards or your courts, I'd be happy to do that. So I will follow up with you each directly, but I wanted to just share this level of work that we've done so far, and we're happy to, looking forward to talking to you in the future about how to strategize moving forward. Any questions for me?
Does anybody have any questions? Ms. Melendez, we'll just be looking forward to you reaching out to us in December and letting us know what the status is in December, if persons will still have to go ahead and seek employment or not. Make sure you give us an update on that so that we'll know. But as of right now, we know that in November, no, they do not.
That's correct. That's correct.
I don't think we're going to meet in December, but if you can email us that information, that'll be great.
Sure, I'd be happy to.
This is all really good information. I don't know if anybody has any questions to ask on this, and I think I'll definitely ask you to be on my commissioner's court here sometime soon to give this type of presentation.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? No?
Okay.
Well,
thank you all for your time.
Right, thank you. Very excellent presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Layla.
Okay, so we're still on administration, and now we're on number 8, El Paso Chamber of Commerce resolution.
Yes.
This is an action item.
Yes, it is, ma'am. And I will go through these items as quickly as I can. Asking for board approval to allow the Council of Governments President and the Executive Director to sign a resolution acknowledging that the Chamber of Commerce for El Paso is acting in cooperation with the RGCOG as required by the Economic Development Administration CARES program. And so nonprofit organizations are required to provide a resolution by a general purpose political subdivision of the state. And so what I'm asking for you all is the same item that was brought to you last meeting in August for Creative Kids. The Chamber of Commerce is applying to EDA for a total of $250,000 with a match of $50,000, and the purpose of the grant application is to allow the Chamber to further their Business Solutions Center to assist 10 businesses, small businesses per month for at least the next 18 months. And so it'll be a variety of ways that they assist these businesses, but it's all COVID related to keep these businesses afloat and thrive and be prepared when the pandemic is over. Are there any questions for me?
Okay, there being no questions, we'll go ahead and entertain a motion to approve this. Is there anyone?
Make a motion to approve.
Okay, and who is it?
Sheriff Wiles.
Sheriff Wiles?
Really quick, a point of order. Yes, this is related to our COVID response generally. Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
All right, so I would like to make a quick motion for the Rio Grande Council of Governments to support the actions taken by the county judge in related to his emergency orders on placed on October 29th for El Paso County.
That's not on the agenda. Are we allowed to take action?
Yeah, I was going to say that. That's not on the agenda.
Representative Shortline, we're on item number 8, and it
yes, that's why I asked if this is broadly related to our COVID response, because this is discussing CARES Act funding. And you said that it was related to our COVID response as a community. And that's why I'm making this motion, because it falls squarely within a conversation that we're having about our COVID response.
Okay, we did have a prior motion to yours from Sheriff Wiles, who made a motion to go ahead and approve the resolution as presented initially, correct? And your motion is totally different, Representative Shortline.
Again, but I did ask if it was relating to our COVID response as a community, and it was, and so that's why I made the motion. And I understand that it is different than the motion currently on the floor. I was hoping to get a second so that this body could weigh in affirmatively on the actions that the county judge is trying to take to keep our communities safe during this public health emergency.
Okay, so in Robert's Rules of Order, since we do have a motion from Sheriff Wiles, Sheriff Wiles could either amend his motion if he's in agreement with the motion that you're talking about, Representative Shortline, or if his motion dies for lack of a second, then we would entertain a different motion. But a motion is on the floor.
From what I understand from Robert's Rules of Orders, based upon our city attorney from this week, and I'm sure Representative Rivera can back me up, is that if there's another motion on the floor, that motion is voted first. That's in fact how we voted on city council there. So I'm sure Representative Rivera, you remember that clearly. I just would hope to that there would be considered, the sheriff would consider amending this action item, adding this resolution to the approval.
So here's my concern, and I want to be clear that I support the county judge 100%. Clearly, this is a serious issue in this county, and a lot of people are infected, and the numbers continue to rise, and we've lost, unfortunately, several hundred El Pasoans. And I think the potential is it could get worse if we don't really take this thing more seriously and stay home and keep this stuff from spreading. I do worry that this is clearly turning into a political issue between the county judge, the mayor, and the governor, and the attorney general's office, and I'm not sure the Rio Grande Council government should make a stand on that. You know, I think as a entity, we can certainly understand what's going on and hope that our leaders that have that authority use it wisely to help us to get through this. But I'm just not sure how that plays into the current item that's before us.
I would have to agree with you. I would have to agree with you, Sheriff Wiles.
Well, again, my action is not political, nor do I think that the actions of our county judge that you work so closely with, Sheriff, is a political action. The actions that he took yesterday are specifically to deal with a public health crisis and the overwhelming of our healthcare system and to save El Pasoans' lives. I don't see the action that he took yesterday to be a political one. However, I feel the actions that the mayor have taken are explicitly political as he is in the midst of a re-election campaign. Regardless of that, my resolution is on the actions that were taken by the county judge specifically to deal with the public health crisis that is overwhelming our healthcare system. And let's be clear about the healthcare system that we have in El Paso. It is a healthcare system not just for El Paso, the city. It is not just a healthcare system for the county of El Paso. It also is a healthcare system of last resort and trauma for far west Texas as well, including many of the counties and municipalities that are on this board.
And Judge, I believe that Mayor Webb was going to say something as well.
I was just, I agree with the sheriff's remarks on it. And while I understand that this does affect our rural area too, since this is not something that's been brought up or discussed or on our agenda, I unfortunately am sorry to admit that I'm behind on exactly what the situation is. And since it isn't discussed in this meeting, I certainly don't feel like I could take any action on this item that I don't fully understand.
Annette, this is Diana. Can you all hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Hello all, this is Diana, the attorney for the COG, and my concern, just from a legal standpoint, is that the agenda item number 8, as it's presented, doesn't fit the resolution that's been proposed. And for Open Meetings Act requirements, I just think if you all decide to go ahead and vote on that action, it could draw scrutiny to the COG for failing to comply with that requirement. And just from a legal standpoint, what I would suggest is that you all table the resolution, provide adequate notice on the next agenda, and then take a vote so that there's sufficient time, as well as some work into putting that resolution in writing so that you all can fairly evaluate it. And I think people will generally be more comfortable.
Well, I have the motion there. If there isn't a second, then essentially it fails.
I have no problem with withdrawing my motion and making a motion to postpone.
Would that be, my concern would be that if we don't take action on this agenda item, that would jeopardize the chamber's application to EDA because the resolution is required.
Right. So the motion that
the sheriff
Bartwain's made could be brought up at the next meeting.
Which will be
I mean, a resolution to that effect could be brought up at the next meeting. But this resolution, we could carry forward with this one at this meeting. And we do have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
Would you mind, Sheriff, would you?
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Would you restate your motion? The very first motion that you made?
Well, my motion was to approve.
And my request was to authorize the council government to allow the president and the director to sign a resolution acknowledging the Chamber of Commerce is acting in cooperation with RGCOG by the Economic Development Administration's CARES program.
Yes, and my motion is to approve that.
Second.
Who seconded?
Rivera, City Representative Rivera.
Thank you so much. Okay, that was, so we have a motion and a second.
Yes, we have it.
All right, and all those in favor say aye.
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 Do you have any opposed? There being none opposed, then the motion carries. And number 9 is the Finance Committee, fiscal year 21 Finance Committee.
Yes, Judge, what we have before you today is a request to establish our Finance Committee for FY21. These are the dates that we would ask for your availability. They would be in February, March, July, and August, and it would be for the purpose of those items listed in terms of the topics. In FY20, we did have Representative Anello, Judge Guevara, Judge Cano, and Board Trustee Dye presenting who served on the committee, and so I would ask if we could also go ahead and move forward and establish the Finance Committee for 21. And Judge Guevara, as you being the president, I would assume that you would continue to serve in that capacity?
Definitely.
And Representative Schwartzbein, you and Mayor Summer, also being officers of the Council, if you all would want to consider serving on the committee as well, we would welcome that.
Yes.
Yes, that's fine.
Okay, so that would be 3 of you all, and then we could punish Judge Cano for not being here today, and we could have somebody from the board nominate Judge Cano to serve on the Finance Committee again, if that's something anybody would want to do.
This is Summer. I will happily nominate Judge Cano to serve on the Finance Committee.
I second.
All right.
So we have a motion and a second. No.
So it was Mayor Webb.
Mayor Webb, and who did the second?
Who was the second?
Who made the second motion? Who seconded the motion, I mean?
I did. No, I did for Kano.
Yes, so Schwartzman. Yes. Okay, so we have a motion and a second for Kano to be on the Finance Committee. And all those in favor say aye.
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 The point of information, are there any additional members that would need to be appointed? Because I would recommend Representative Rivera as well.
Do we need to appoint any other?
The number that we have presented is what we've been utilizing, but if Representative Rivera would be interested, we would gladly have him on board if he would be interested.
Sure, I would be interested in that. Sure.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Representative Sortman.
I always enjoy spending time with you, Representative Rivera.
Okay, great. Okay, so moving right along, next one is bank fraud.
Yes, sir. Agenda item 10. I wanted to bring the board up to speed on an issue that occurred here at the Council of Governments on October the 13th when our finance department was reviewing our bank account electronically. They did detect that there was a fraudulent check that had cleared our main operating bank account at Wells Fargo, and that was in the amount of $9,945. We have submitted the claim to Wells Fargo, and they're currently investigating the item through their Treasury Management Department. We also did file with the El Paso Police Department, and we did notify Judge Guevara as well as our attorney, Ms. Valdez. And so we have taken new steps in terms of providing additional safeguards to the organization which were not previously implemented, and those items include utilizing positive pay and ACH fraud filter. We will be adding those items to our account with Wells Fargo. And with positive pay, the way that is intended to be used is that it will block any disbursement of a check whose information does not appear on the accounts payable list that we will be providing to the bank on a weekly basis. The ACH fraud filter will block automatic withdrawals or transfers from the account. And so we are also looking at any additional insurance that we can purchase through our carrier, which is the Texas Municipal League Intergovernmental Risk Pool, and to see if there's additional coverage. We did submit a claim through them. However, the current insurance that we do have with them does not cover this type of theft. Now, once we get to a final resolution to the fraudulent check, we will bring, as well as from the El Paso Police Department, we'll bring those items back to you. We will continue to be in communication with Judge Guevara, with the officers, as well as Ms. Valdez, in terms of any items that are being brought forward by Wells Fargo or the police department. I do have Judy Cisneros, who is our finance director, on the line as well, if you have any questions for either Judy or myself.
Question,
Yes, sir.
Representative Rivera. Was the money actually withdrawn from the account?
Judy, would you be able to answer that question?
Yes, sure. Yes, the money was withdrawn October the 6th.
Okay, and the way I understand it, all you have to do is, besides their own investigation, is provide the police case number, and a local detective is working on your case.
That is our understanding, yes, sir. We did provide that to the El Paso Police, and we also provided the case number to Wells Fargo as well. So their fraud department is working also on trying to get the funds or an investigation going on.
And the reason I ask is because any financial institution, correct me if I'm wrong, Sheriff Wiles, or Commissioner Leon, but once we prove that that was or once the organization proves that it was fraudulently removed from their account, aren't they reimbursed by the bank itself, the insurance bank?
We did investigate that route, Representative Rivera, looking at FDIC as well. But Judy, do you want to inform in terms of what that answer was from Wells Fargo?
Sure. So the FDIC will only cover if there was if the bank were to go bankrupt, or if there was something drastically going on in the economy that would not allow us to access our funding. However, the FDIC does not cover fraudulent activity.
Okay. All right then. Thank you.
This is a first for our organization, and we obviously have been realizing that there are some other items that perhaps we could have taken into account. And so again, you see the positive pay, you see the ACH fraud filter, and so I know nothing is ever 100% secure, but we think that these additional measures will make it that much more difficult for us to ever encounter something like this again.
Chair, this is Leon. I've got a question.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead, Commissioner Leon.
I just wanted to know, were we actually hacked, or was it a hard copy of check? And can you give me that amount again?
The amount is $9,945 with 90 cents. And Judy, do you want to explain the process in terms of how that occurred?
Sure. So apparently they used a check that had been issued to one of our AAA vendors. This check had the original check had been deposited back in August. That same check, they altered it to where instead of, like, the original dollar amount was $1,945 with 90 cents. They altered it to say $9,945 with 90 cents. So technically, they just switched the 1 to a 9. And whomever did this reissued it or redeposited into the bank, therefore resulting into the withdrawal. We did have both Annette and Yvette and myself were actually on a call with the vendor who's we had issued the original check with, and in conversations that we've had with them, they assure us that she's assuring us that that wasn't something that that she was a part of, that indeed she was also a victim of this. Her account has been frozen as well, because again, she just doesn't know how somebody could have used the same check that she had previously deposited and redeposited that check into a different dollar amount. Again, we don't know. We continue to have business with this vendor solely at the request of the clients that they serve. That we really don't want to disturb those clients being removed from there to a different facility. And I don't know if Yvette wanted to say something regarding the clients that they currently have. And if we can, if you want us to disclose the name of the vendor, we could do that as well.
I'm just, this is Leon again. I'm just very surprised that a financial institution
Right.
would cash a check twice, the same check number twice. That's very, I'm very surprised that that would actually happen. But no, I appreciate the information. Thank you.
Thank you. And just to clarify, the check number was also changed, and the date on the check was also altered. The signatures and our logos, they're very similar. So what we're thinking that they might have done is they might have just pretty much cropped it certain areas with the snip tool. It kind of just removed certain items from the original check and created a new check with it. They did create another check number. So I guess that's and nowadays, I guess with this whole depositing with the picture, you can deposit the check with your phone. That also plays into the role of not the teller, not necessarily looking at the actual check being submitted for disbursement. So that doesn't, that also counts against us.
Oh,
okay. Thank you.
Well, question follow up to what Commissioner Leon just stated. I can't foresee the financial institution who actually went ahead and cashed it without actually calling the Rio Grande representative. I can't see that the financial institution is just washing its hands of this thing when they had a major part in it. And secondly, on your police report, did you also indicate that you wanted to press charges?
We believe we did. I was not here when that happened. Annette, do you want to touch on that?
Yes, and we have Representative Rivera. I don't, we have not heard back yet from the police department in terms of what the next steps are. We filed the report. We have a case number. So our institution is Wells Fargo. The check was cashed at Chase Bank. And when we say cash at Chase Bank, we don't know whether that check was actually physically deposited at a bank or if it was done electronically, because they won't give us any of that information. And so that's where the investigation is happening right now. It's not, we are still very much in the dark in terms of what occurred. We are making assumptions here on what could possibly have happened. And so we're waiting through the process to be able to receive more information from both Wells Fargo as well as the police department.
Thank you, ma'am. I just want to make sure you indicate that you do want to press charges so it'll be pursued even, and hopefully you recover some of that money back.
Yes, sir.
And so,
as you all know, with the organization that we are and as small as we are with in comparison to other institutions, $9,945 is a lot of money for us. And so we work really hard to make our fund balance, where it is and to continue to add revenues to that account. And so we are definitely not resting on our laurels in terms of trying to receive this money back to our organization, because it is a lot.
yes, it is. Thank you very much for your answers.
Thank you, sir.
And I would just like to say that this type of fraudulent activity is so rampant right now in our county. In Presidio County, we have gotten hit 3 times, and the persons that are doing this, they're so good at it that if you look at what they've done with the checks, they just look so authentic and so real, and I think that's why it's easy for them to mistakenly just pass this. But I do want to commend the diligence of Judy and her team for finding that right away and noticing. And I know that you've done some steps in your office to go ahead and keep a sharper eye out for this on a daily basis. And I know that you've done everything possible to avert this in the future. But for all of you listening and as leaders of your governmental entities, perhaps to be proactive right now would be good. and to see how you can possibly prevent this happening, because it will happen, I believe, anywhere. And it could be somebody in Africa or somebody in another country doing this, where they're just able to hack and make all these checks. And so take caution and do your best to be proactive. It'll hit you when you least expect it. So, but thank you, Judy, for everything that you've done to protect the COG from this type of activity. And so this is just an information item. No action is required, and Annette, you'll keep us updated on this. And surely, if they get down to the source of who committed this crime, they'll definitely file a complaint and have hopefully that person will be arrested. Okay, so I guess we're going to go back to the beginning of the agenda, and that's to finance. So Judy, you get to just stay right on right now. Okay, approval of investment policy by Judy Cisneros. Go ahead.
Yes,
What number is this, ma'am? You going back
agenda
to number
number
one?
one.
Number one?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Sorry if I wasn't clear. It's number 1. Yes.
Well, yes, good morning. It's still morning, almost 15 minutes till midday, but I'll make this very brief. So Board of Directors approval is being requested, and this is pretty much to adopt the investment policy for fiscal year 21. In order for us to remain in compliance, the policy needs to be approved annually. The policy that is being presented shows no revisions from the policy that we used in fiscal year 20, other than with the change of today's date. We didn't feel that there were any necessary changes. There was really nothing new. They came out in the Investment Act, so there was no need for us to make revisions to the policy. Any questions regarding the policy being presented?
And our attorney has gone over the policy, correct?
The only is
not on the investment policy.
Right.
This is one that we've been using throughout the years. We received assistance with Valley View Consulting when we used them previously.
Oh, okay. So this is just an annual renewal.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
That is
correct. So do we have, go ahead, Judy. Do you have
No,
a
that is
motion
correct.
to approve?
Motion to approve. Representative Rivera.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a second?
I second. Mayor Leos.
Thank you. So we have a motion and a second, and all those in favor say aye.
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 Okay, motion carries.
Any opposed?
Do we have any opposed? There being none, motion carries. All right, so the next item is item number 2, investment officers, and this is an action item also. Judy, go ahead.
Yes, thank you. Board of Directors approval is being requested to designate the Executive Director, the Finance Director, and the Accounting Manager as investment officers. This year, we decided to add a third investment officer, which is the Accounting Manager. We felt that it would be in the best interest of the COG to add an additional backup. We all, both Annette, myself, and Evelyn Anguiano, which is the accounting manager, attended virtual training back in May. What this does, it will allow us to stay in compliance as investment officers through fiscal year 2022. Any questions regarding the investment officers that are being presented?
If there are no questions, do we have a motion? Okay, I make a motion that we approve the investment officers as presented.
Second. Representative Rivera.
Okay, thank you, Representative Rivera. And all those in favor say aye.
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 Okay. Any opposed? All right, there being none opposed, motion carries. Number 3, an information item only, and this is on presentation of the public funds investment report for the fourth quarter of fiscal year 2020. Go ahead, Judy.
Yeah. Thank you. My next agenda item is pretty much the presentation of the fourth quarter investment report for fiscal year 20. What it does here is it's going to give you a report on 3 of our bank accounts. The first account that you see here is the operating account. For the operating account, we had a book and a market value at September 30th of $396,189. And for the quarter, it earned $537. The next account that you'll see is our 911 account. Our 911 account is our CSEC advance funding. For this account, we had a book and a market value at September 30th of $15,738, and it earned interest of $45. And our last account is our TCEQ account, which is our solid waste account. This one has a book and a market value of $10,486, and it earned interest of $19 for the quarter. Again, this is just an information item only. And to go back to the fraud, on those 3 accounts that you see, the fraud was committed on the first account, which is the operating account, because that's where our checks are disbursed from. The other 2 accounts that you saw was the 911 and the TCEQ account. Those accounts are just pretty much just to hold our funding. We cut the checks out of the operating, and on a monthly basis, we transfer the monies from the CSEC account and our TCEQ to pay what the operating account has already distributed.
Thank you for that explanation, Judy.
Yes.
Go ahead and we'll go on to the next item, since that was a no action item, number 5.
Or number 4.
Number 4, I mean.
Number 4, okay. So Board of Directors approval is being requested, and this is to designate the board president, the first vice president, the second vice president, executive director, and the finance director as signatory authorities for the bank accounts held at Wells Fargo. What this is going to do is Judge Guevara, Representative Schwartzbein, the executive director, and the finance director will remain as a signatory authority. The only change is their titles for Judge Guevara and Representative Schwartzbein will be changed. The other change is also we will be removing Representative Anello as the board president, and we're going to be adding Mayor Webb as the second vice president. Any questions for me regarding the new signatures?
No, seems like standard procedure whenever we have new officers. And so do I have a motion to approve this item?
Motion to approve, Representative.
Second, Mayor Leos.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Are there any opposed? There being none, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
So now we're going to jump over to
11.
item number 11 for regional services. Yeah.
Yes, and Marisa is going to be jumping on right now, but I'll just go ahead and present the agenda item until we see her coming on to the screen. So this one here is Board of Directors approval on the submittal of the revised El Paso Dispute Resolution Center bylaws, as well as a resolution that's affirming the amendments to the bylaws to El Paso County Administration.
Annette, I'm here.
Okay, there you are. We couldn't find you.
I was on mute and then I had to pause my camera. Go ahead, Annette. I'm sorry.
Oh no, you're. I just presented it, so I don't know if there's any questions.
The Board of Directors is Marisa Quintanilla, Regional Services Director. wanted to go ahead, as Annette mentioned regarding this agenda item. The Rio Grande Council of Governments manages and administers the Dispute Resolution Center on behalf of El Paso County. So we did have some changes to the bylaws, and so behind the agenda item, you do have the edited version of those bylaws. We're requesting the DRC council is requesting to increase the membership from 9 members to 12 members, and including a couple of new appointments to the membership, looking at having a representative from El Paso County, as well as El Paso County Attorney's Office, as well as representative from county court at law judges that deal with family issues, as well as juvenile probation representative. And so we're looking at those new memberships to come on. And then in terms of our quorum, since we're increasing the membership, it would be from 5 to 8. And just include the word "be" at this last section under the Texas Open Meetings Act. So that's the edited version. The following document is the clean version. And then, so that is the request under the changes for the bylaws. And we do know that since this program is particularly for El Paso County residents, I know that perhaps some of our other member governments are not familiar as much as with how we, what services we provide under the Dispute Resolution Center. We provide mediation services, and we do have 3 programs. We have a courthouse program, a neighborhood program, and a juvenile program. It is an action item, Judge.
Oh, okay, that's fine. So I make a motion that we approve the resolution bylaws as presented by Marissa.
Second.
I second that.
No, that's fine.
A motion by Judge Guevara and a second by Commissioner Leon. Thank you. And all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Okay, any opposed? If there are none opposed, then motion carries. Thank you. Okay, and the next item is yours also, Marissa, and it's the pre-disaster mitigation program.
Oh, actually, it's going to be the Dispute Resolution Center, the members.
Oh, okay. So number 12.
Number 13.
Number 13? Okay.
No, I'm sorry. Number 12.
Okay.
Go ahead, Marisa.
Okay, Board of Directors requesting approval for the FY21 membership for the DRC Council and resolution affirming the council's composition. So actually here is the list of all the members for the DRC Council. We have the Honorable Carlos Leon, Honorable Stu Curita, Honorable Jesus Rodriguez, Honorable Josh Herrera, Honorable Victor Salas, Honorable Joe Gonzalez, Mr. Bishop, who represents the El Paso County Administrative Office, Mr. Brian Stanley, who's the Executive Director for the Domestic Relations Office here at the County of El Paso, Ms. Linda Garcia, Representative for Juvenile Probation, Mr. Paul Ronnie, Citizen at Large. We have an attorney mediator from the DRC, that's Mr. Antonio Martinez, and then a non-attorney mediator, and that's Ms. Celia Torres. So this would be the membership, the 12 membership for committee membership for the DRC Council. Behind this attachment, you do have the resolution affirming the composition of the council.
Any questions, board members, on this item? If there are no questions, I'll entertain a motion at this time.
Motion to approve, Rivera.
Thank you.
Second, Mayor Leos.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, and all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? Okay, there being none, this motion does carry. And next item, we are on item number.
Number 13. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, that's okay. All right, Marissa, this is also your item. I'll let you go ahead and speak to this item.
Board of Directors, this is an informational item. I wanted to introduce to y'all Mr. Ray Resendez, who's serving as a regional services coordinator under the Hazard Mitigation Program. Some of you all are very familiar with Mr. Resendez. He came on board with us October 5th. Just to give you a little brief bio from Mr. Resendez. Mr. Resendez brings to this position a well-established background in emergency preparedness and professional services. Prior to taking on a program coordinator position for Texas A&M Engineering Extension Services, he served 14 years with the Texas Division of Emergency Management. Mr. Resendez has a wealth of experience working with jurisdictions, whether it be rural or urban, very well versed in councils of governments, planning commissions, development councils, been very responsible for coordinating trainings, responding to and assisting jurisdictions in the recovery of disasters. He's been very instrumental to local jurisdictions in providing guidance and direction, not only to elected officials, but for first responders, as well as other private and public sectors within jurisdictions. Prior to that, Mr. Resendez also served and retired after 21 years of service with the City of El Paso Fire Department, with his last position holding rank as a lieutenant for the Office of Emergency Management as an assistant coordinator, EMC. Again, within that role, he also provided that local advice and leadership to elected officials, state officials, and federal officials as well. He has responded to various emergencies, not only within our region, but across Texas. So as you can look at your informational item, your agenda item there, those are some of the disasters that he has assisted in response to and in the recovery of. So I know that he is on the webcam, and it's not titled Ray Resendez, it's titled Marisa Quintanilla. But Ray, do you want to go ahead and do a shout out?
I just want to say thank you. I'm really looking forward to working here with the COG and working with all of you. The mitigation plans are going to take a lot of work throughout the community and getting involvement from everybody, but I'm really excited and looking forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
All right, so no action is required on this item. And welcome, Mr. Resendez. We're very fortunate to have you be part of our team, especially with all your expertise. So just listening to everything that Marissa said, is there anything else that you've done or that
You haven't done?
Yeah, what else haven't done? I think you've done it all. It's really impressive. Anyway, we're glad to have you here.
Thank you.
All right. So, okay. So the next item is we do have to take action, and that is on the Criminal Justice Division program.
Yes, Board of Directors, requesting board approval on the submittal of the revised FY22 Criminal Justice Advisory membership and resolution affirming the committee's makeup to the Public Safety Office within the Governor's Division of, within the Office of the Governor's Criminal Justice Division. So every year, October, we present to you all the changes for each of the programs that are administered through regional services, and criminal justice is one of them. Here, behind your agenda item, you do have the membership with the edited versions. You also have the clean version and resolution. Ms. Teresa Todd is our committee chair, and so I will send it over to Ms. Teresa Todd for comment and additional information.
Thank you, Ms. Marisa. As y'all know, we meet rank and score in April or May, all of the CJD grants, and in October is when we meet and discuss our rules and our policies, our procedures, and our scoring sheet. So this year we have some changes to the policies and procedures. It's mainly to include new programs that are going to be coming through the Criminal Justice Advisory Committee down from the CJD. The way this works is they have basically kind of pilot programs, and at the beginning we don't rank and score them. We just do a 1 to 5. And the state evaluates those, how they're going, and then often those, and they're all great programs, but they often get put into the same funding source in which we fund all of the other existing programs that we have. So we're always happy to see new programs, but we always also know that that's going to make the money for all of our funding sources more scarce. So we have some new sexual assault forensic exam facilities grants. We also have new child sex trafficking applications, and those have all been added. Those are really the changes that I can think of, Marisa. Do you think of any other changes other than to add new programs?
No, no, that you're right. That's correct, Ms. Todd. In addition to just reflecting the new fiscal year, I know that we did have some changes in terms of the committee membership, and so those are the changes. I see we're looking at the clean version of the committee makeup, but prior to that, you do have just some cleanups on the committee makeup. And so that is the agenda. So we can submit this composition to the governor's office. That is this agenda item. And then when we go on to the next one, we can kind of look at the changes for the policies and procedures.
Okay.
Question.
All right. Go ahead.
I see that you still have Mr. Esparza. Is that going to change, or is he remaining on the board?
No, sir, that will change, but that won't be affected until January. I know that there is still going to be some cleanups to this because with Jeff Davis County, I know that Judge Francel is not, obviously there's going to be an elections, coming up in November. And so we'll probably redo this list again towards the spring, so you all know who those committee members are, because at this point they're still holding office.
Right. And the office usually goes with the Criminal Justice Advisory Committee member. It goes with the office, not with the individual. So it's not something that you can usually take with you if you leave office for any reason, unless you want to stay on and become a member representing the public.
Okay, thank you.
All right. So if there are no more questions, do we have a motion to go ahead and approve the submittal of the revised fiscal year 2022 Criminal Justice Advisory Committee membership and the resolution affirming the committee's makeup? Do you have a motion for that?
Move to approve. Yeah.
You sure?
Yeah.
Do we have a second? Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. Commissioner Leon? And all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye. Okay, any opposed? Okay, since there are none opposed, motion carries. Go ahead, Marisa, with the next agenda item, please.
Board of Directors requesting the submittal of the revised FY22 Criminal Justice Planning Alliance Policies and Procedures and Resolution, affirming the revised policies and procedures to be submitted to the Public Safety Office within the Office of the Governor Criminal Justice Division. So behind your agenda item, you do have the edited version, and then you have the clean version, and you also have the resolution. So as Ms. Todd was talking about, it was just adding those new programs that are going to come before the committee for review, and then changing the language to reflect the next funding cycle, which is FY22. When we facilitated the FY21 prioritization process, we had requested applicants. We did all this virtually, and so in the policies and procedures, if this was normal time, applicants would come before the committee and provide a 10-minute presentation. So that has now been modified to 7 minutes. When we did the prioritization for 21, we had informed applicants that they only had 5 minutes, and that was very rushed. So that was one of the edits that was made for this next funding cycle. And other than that, it's all the highlights that Ms. Todd mentioned. No significant.
Right. If there's anything very substantive other than just adding new programs.
Okay, so does anybody have any questions for Marissa or Ms. Todd at this time regarding the application or the policies and procedures? If there are none, I make a motion that we go ahead and approve the Criminal Justice Advisory Committee policies and procedures as presented for FY 2022. Do we have a second? Okay.
Second.
Okay. Representative Rivera?
Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
so we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, any opposed? None opposed? All right, so then the motion does carry. Okay, we can go on to the next item. Marissa, oh, this is Cynthia Mendez. Item.
Can you hear me? Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. Cynthia Mendez, Regional Services Coordinator. I work with the Homeland Security grants and solid waste monies, and so I do have a few items to bring to you. The first one is Board of Directors approval is requested on the submittal of the revised fiscal year 2022 Regional State Homeland Security Risk Informed Methodology, First Responder Preparedness Planning Group Policies and Procedures, and resolution affirming the revised policies and procedures and risk informed methodology to the PSO, which is the Office of Governor's Homeland Security Grants Division. And what we have here in front of you is Annette, if I can.
No, so, and I'm sorry, I didn't inform staff. In terms of the presentation, we're not providing all of the backups because that would get a little too much in the weeds. So it was provided to them electronically in the files for earlier this week.
Okay, great. So I'll look at mine over here. But basically on the first page of the risk-informed methodology, back on October the 19th, there was a First Responders Preparedness Planning Group meeting. And these edits that I'll go over with you in a minute were based on the committee in recommending for planning grants applications to be prioritized within its own category, in which a percentage of the allocation, obviously which we don't have at this point, but once we do receive the allocation monies, 12% would be allocated to planning grants. There is an exception for the Rio Grande Council of Governments. So let me go over on the changes. On the first page, basically, you're looking at just revising the fiscal years like we normally do. And then on the second page, we did add on the, if you have it in front of you, it's under using the COGS regional threat, vulnerabilities, and consequences. The very first paragraph, we added at the very last sentence the First Responders Preparedness Planning Group reviews the states and FEMA's, and the word FEMA was added here, priorities in order, and in order was added to determine the local priorities. But the next paragraph I'm going.
I'm so sorry, if I can step in. I think that just for the board's understanding and for the sake of time, I think that they all understand that the first responders group is the committee who reviewed and edited the document in terms of any kind of clarifications, including those to be minor. But can you highlight the planning part? Because I think that's what's going to be most important for the board to know. And then that way they can go ahead and take action on this.
Okay, definitely. So the major change here, and let me just read it here, is we want to add the language to read a priority action for the First Responders Preparedness Planning Group is regional and local planning. Planning facilitates the performance of response core capabilities during all hazard emergencies or other situations that may disrupt normal operations. Therefore, the First Responders Preparedness Planning Group deems it appropriate to establish a planning funding carve-out of 12% from the fiscal year 2022 regional budget estimation. The planning applications will be ranked, scored, and prioritized separately from other fiscal year 2022 Homeland Security Grant Division applications. The exception, whereas the First Responders Preparedness Planning Group deems it appropriate to fully fund the Rio Grande Council of Governments at 100% of the requested amount listed on the application from the fiscal year 2022 RBE, separate and apart from the 12% carve-out. That is a major change. Any questions?
So Board of Directors, just so everybody understands, when you have your EMCs come to you and request to submit an application on behalf of your entity, for the most part, it's been equipment purchases. But now with this carve out of 12%, if there are some planning functions that you all would want to engage in, there is a separate pool of funds, so to speak, that you would be able to apply for. And so this is what the group, the majority of the group voted on. And so this is what's being presented to the Board of Directors, who has the ultimate say on whether you want to go forward with this request from the committee. And Judge Guevara was chairing that meeting, and Marisa was in attendance as well. So if you have any questions for any of us, we can answer those also.
Yes, I would just like to add that one of the main concerns was whether having a 12% carve out or a 12% set aside would take away from the Rio Grande Council of Governments, but then the specific language was put in there to go ahead and make sure that we deemed it appropriate to fund the Rio Grande Council of Governments fully at 100%. So that was one of the concerns that some committee members had, and we did go back and forth on that, and then came to this, and then everybody was okay to proceed, and then to bring it to you all for approval.
Question.
Go ahead.
Does this 12% accumulate, or is it like the other funds that have to be spent by a certain time?
No, it does not, if I may, ma'am.
Yes, go ahead.
It's based on the allocation for FY22, Representative Rivera.
Yes, ma'am.
And so it does not accumulate. So let's say, for example, that the allocation for our COG region is $1 million. It would be 12% of that $1 million, just because we don't always get the same regional allocation. And so 12% of the total allocation would be a set aside for planning applications. So any jurisdictions within the Council of Governments, if they want to submit an application for planning, then those planning applications will be prioritized within that category, and funding will be allocated based on that 12%.
Okay. Gotcha. Thank you very much. I just thought this was new. Might have had some new set of guides to it. But thank you very much for the explanation.
Certainly.
And if I may continue, Cynthia, under the policies and procedures documents, which you also have But just wanted to let you know that under that document, the same language is applied to make sure that we're in compliance with policies and procedures. That's what I have, Judge.
Do we have any, do we have a motion to approve this? Anybody?
Motion to approve. Mayor Leos.
Second, Rep. Rivera.
Okay, we have a motion by, okay, get that. Right, and Leo. All right, and all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Okay. Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Next item.
My next item is Board of Directors approval is requested on the submittal of the fiscal year 2022 First Responders Planning Group membership and resolution affirming the committee's composition to the Public Safety Office within the Office of Governor's Homeland Security Grants Division. So just two minor changes or quick changes here that we're requesting to add the Honorable Larry Francel under Jeff Davis County as a member, and then also to replace the name of Honorable Anello for the Honorable Cinderella Guevara on the RGCOG precedent section. Then we also are just basically correcting some titles on under the memberships, and that's it.
And there are so many members, there's several slides to show all of the representatives. If anybody wants me to go back on any of them, I can, but those are the individuals that are on the planning group.
Does anyone have any questions regarding the members? No? Then I'm going to go ahead and make a motion that we approve the First Responders Planning Group membership and resolution affirming the composition that is listed here. That's my motion. I heard a second. Okay.
Mayor Leos.
Mayor Leos. Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 All those opposed, please indicate so right now. Okay, there being none, motion carries. Thank you, Cynthia. Next item, please.
So the next item deals with solid waste, and Board of Directors approval is requested on the submittal of the Fast Desert Plant Conformance Review recommendation of favorable comment made by Solid Waste Advisory Committee. The facility is located at 7370 FM 192 Road, Fort Stockton, and
Hancock.
Pardon me?
You said Fort Stockton.
Yes, ma'am.
Fort Hancock.
Fort Hancock, I'm sorry. Okay. Thank you for the correction there. But just to give you a little bit of review, when the COP becomes notified that and this is a tire facility that they want to build and to establish, part of the TCEQ process is that the entity needs to notify the COG, and in doing so, we then present the proposal to the SWAC committee. The SWAC committee then either recommends or just decides to give other comments about it. But the Mr. Saul Molina, who owns this facility, did present to the SWAC in August, and he did turn in the required documentation, which is this conformance review that was presented in your packet. Once he did his spill and the SWAC did have questions, this facility, I just want to let you know that the location is in his own land. In fact, Judge Neely is his neighbor. He is open to, once it is established, he wants to make sure to touch with other counties to ensure that his services are there if they wish. I know that once it does become established that he will be one of our vendors, that the COG will go to ask for a quote in our solid waste projects. So it looks very promising. Once that was done, then it's up to us, for me, to bring this up to the board, to you all, and to again ask for approval for a favorable comment. So that's where this is coming from. Any questions?
No questions? Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved. This is Summer.
I second. Mayor Leos.
Okay, and seconded by Mayor Leos. Okay, all those in favor say aye.
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 Okay, none opposed? I know everybody's getting hungry probably by now. Okay.
All right. So,
So, sorry.
So again, solid waste, Board of Directors approval is requested on the submittal of fiscal year 2021 Solid Waste Advisory Committee membership and resolution affirming the committee's composition to the to TCEQ permits division, waste permits division. So the membership here, the changes that we're requesting approval for is there was a vacancy at El Paso County. We want to replace it with the Honorable Carl Robinson. Okay. We still have that vacancy with Jeff Davis County, but I believe then we will put Judge Francel on there, or until, actually we have it vacant until after the election, and then we would bring it up again. And then the replacement for Ms. Cynthia Salas for local government entities category, we want to replace her with Mr. Eric Zimmer, who is now the City of Alpine City Manager. We then also have a vacancy at Doña Ana County in the very near future. It's retiring is Mr. Vincent Pocluda, and it would be Mr. Chuck McMahon, who's the Assistant County Manager, that would be replacing him. We also have a new category, or not a new category, a new member, additional member that we wanted to include into the private waste management division here category. It's Mr. John Fields, who is retiring, but to be replaced by Mr. Scott Berry, who's the Assistant District Manager, and that's with El Paso Disposal. We also want to add a new member to this category, which would be Mr. John Nelson, and he's with Texas Disposal Systems, City of Alpine, and he's the Operations Manager. Still vacant is the public agency representative that we're still working on. And then lastly is in the other entities operating landfills category, we want to just add Fort Bliss. We don't have a name. We don't want to provide just a name because they do send different representatives. So we just want to include, just say Fort Bliss on there. And those would be the changes.
Okay, very good explanation. Anybody have any questions regarding the membership for this? If there are no questions, I make a motion that we approve the Solid Waste Advisory Committee membership and resolution.
Second.
Okay, Mayor Leos makes the second, and all those in favor say aye.
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 Okay, motion carries. Any opposed? None? Okay, again, motion carries. All right, Cynthia.
Okay, this is my last one. Okay. Board of Directors approval is requested on submittal of the fiscal year 2021 solid waste regional priority list and resolution to the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality, Office of Waste Permits Division. This is the prioritization list in which the SWAC officers, which entail Judge Urias and Miss Ellen Smythe, the Director for Environmental Services, City of El Paso. We received, I believe, and it's not numbered here, but the applications for solid waste projects, for implementation projects were, were reviewed by the chair and vice chair. And just to give you an overview, total funded requested was $121,346.46. The 2021 regional budget estimation is $81,926. So there was a difference of $39,420.46. I want to let you know that the big priority here, or the emphasis that was placed in reviewing these applications this year, was placed on funding equipment projects at their full ask, while cleanup projects averaged about 5,000. So that statement on that right column is applicable to all of these applications.
Now, if I may, ma'am, I believe Ellen Smythe is still on the line. I know she joined in earlier, but I do see that Kristen is still on the line. I'm not sure because if Ellen wants to go ahead and provide additional comment regarding the review of these applications.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, I'm still here. So when we evaluated all the applications, we only had funding for about 2/3 of the total requested funding. And so what we tried to do was to provide enough funding to allow the communities who are trying to buy a piece of equipment to be able to buy that piece of equipment. Because if you partially fund equipment, a lot of times the project falls apart because the entity's just not able to come up with the other half of the funding. Conversely, for a cleanup, if the funding is decreased, typically most communities can go ahead and have a cleanup event, even if it's not as large as they had originally requested. So that was our line of thinking on why we went ahead and pursued the higher dollar amount for a piece of equipment, so that, for example, Presidio could go ahead and buy the piece of equipment that they were wanting to buy. For the majority of the requests, they were all cleanup. And so we basically awarded approximately $5,000 per cleanup. You can see El Paso County had split those into 5 separate requests. And then for example, the Lower Valley Water District had put Socorro and Santa Lazaria together. So that was closer to $10,000. So that was our logic. We wish that we could have been able to fund everybody, but we weren't able to do that. So this was the best compromise position that we could come up with. And so we're asking for your approval.
I thought you reached a good compromise since you weren't able to fund them fully. Thank you for that. Members, do you have any questions regarding this? That was good work by you all. Do I have a motion to approve this, the submittal of the solid waste regional priority list and resolution?
Motion to approve, Rivera.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Second, Mayor Leos.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a motion and a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, that sounded unanimous, but any opposed out there? Looks like not, so motion carries. Okay, we're moving right along in this agenda, and we are now at Area Agency on Aging.
We do not have any agenda items for Area Agency on Aging. What you do see in front of your screen is just some of the activities under Executive Director's report. If any of you have any questions regarding these items, please feel free to call me or email me. We can talk about them some more, but for the sake of time, I'll yield it back to you, President, for your report.
Oh, okay. So I was just gonna let you know about the eventful months that we had here at the COG, and of course we had meetings all throughout the month of the last part of September and all throughout the month of October, as you know, regarding CJAC, first responders, SWAC, and so I won't go into those because you just voted on all of those items. What I would like to, I have two more things to say to everyone, and that's about it. But make sure that I do tell you two different things, please. Don't let me wander off or something. But I sincerely hope that everybody is staying safe during this new outbreak that we're experiencing everywhere. And I would like to let you know that county judges get to meet with the Texas Department of Health once a week, every Wednesday. And I just want to give you a brief update as to the timeline of vaccine availability. And what the Texas Department of Health is telling us, particularly Dr. Rachel Soni, who is the medical director for Region 9 and 10, she has explained to us that the vaccine will be administered in a tiered system through the months, and it's anticipated in two phases, and that's for the month of November through December, for November and December. And what they are doing is trying to identify providers and or employees that are servicing targeted prioritized populations, such as healthcare workers and essential workers. So what I'm trying to say is that the vaccine will go out to those persons first. And then second, and starting January 2021, the vaccine may still be limited to those prioritized populations, but then once the vaccine is in adequate supply, then it'll go out to everyone. And for all of you county judge leaders out there or mayors, please know that the providers do have to register through a registration portal through the Texas Department of Health, and that portal is enrolltexas.iz.dshs.texas.gov. And so you may want to reach out to your providers and make sure that they are registering so that this vaccine can come out to your area. The other thing that I wanted to say is Dr. Soni has just let us know that there is evidence of reinfection. I don't know if all of you are aware, but I know that I was under the assumption at first, or under the I thought that if you got the coronavirus, you couldn't be infected again, but that is not so. And she has let us know that there is evidence of reinfection, and especially if it comes from a different source. So that's just information I'm providing you. The other thing, just one last thing, is that Annette did advise me before the meeting started that we need to have a meeting in November. Now, when we have a meeting in November, this will just be a one-item agenda so far, it looks like. And it has become necessary because the census is doing a thank you drive, and they're going to update us on regarding the census. So Annette had asked if I was available on November 20th, but for many people, that's the day that you start your Thanksgiving vacation. And I know that it's really hard to get a hold of people after the 15th during a holiday month. So board members, I would ask you, would any of you be available, or would the majority of you be available on Friday, November the 13th? The meeting should not take, it'll be a virtual meeting, of course, and it shouldn't take more than 40 minutes, 30 to 40 minutes, either the 13th or the 16th, which is a Monday.
I know Mondays would be hard for our commissioners and our representatives with their workshops, so
right.
Maybe perhaps the 13th, folks, if that would be okay with you all. And I know that you're probably tired of me talking about the census, but the presenters would be from the Census Bureau, so it'd be Paulina Lopez and Pauline Nunez, and they're wanting to make sure that you all are aware of what the wrap up will look like, what items that you may have in terms of follow-ups and how that would occur. And then just to all give you a thank you for all of the work and efforts that everybody has done in terms of trying to get the count out. And so we promise it wouldn't be as long as this meeting, that I can assure you, but it would be really appreciated if you all would allow us to have this meeting.
This is Judge Neely. The 13th will be acceptable for me.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Would all of you be available on November 13th?
Fine with me this summer.
Yes, I will be available as well.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And what we'll do then is, it sounds, I mean, there's 4 or 5 people who answer right now, but we'll go ahead and send out the notice. We'll go with the 13th date, and I think that if we're having issues with a quorum, I'll check with Ms. Valdez just to see if maybe perhaps if we need to structure it in a different way where it's not necessarily a board meeting, if that's more appropriate. But the whole idea behind this is just allowing all of you to hear what's going on with the wrap up of the census.
Right. Okay.
Question, Ms. Danetta, do you plan to keep it at the same time?
Yes, we can keep it at 10 o'clock. Yes, sir.
Yes, or whatever's more convenient for everyone. So just let us know.
Since it is a Friday, would 10 o'clock be okay with everyone? I see a no for Mayor Leos. Okay, we'll send out the notice and we'll just start doing it now to see how many folks we can have that are interested in it. Now, if we do a board meeting and if there are some agenda items that staff or the board or board members would want to bring forward, we could definitely start working on that also.
Just a short week because we also have Veterans Day on that week, that Wednesday, and a lot of people are off or not at work on Wednesday.
Right.
So either late Thursday afternoon or Friday morning, I think we could play around with those 2 times. So please let Annette know. I just want to thank everybody for being present, and I want to wish everybody a happy Veterans Day here coming up, and everybody please stay safe. Okay.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Okay.
Representative Vera.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, now how many seconds am I going to get on that is what I'm wondering. Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
All right, I need somebody with a second. Or dies for lack of motion? No, not really. Okay. All right, so we have a motion. And
Okay, if you want to do that, I'll rescind it and I want to extend the meeting then.
Okay, Robert's Rules of Orders? No, not really. Okay.
Okay.
And all those in favor say aye.
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 That sounded unanimous. Any opposed? All right, motion carries, and the time is 12. All of you, a great Halloween. Stay safe.
Thank you,
Have a
everyone.
nice weekend. Be safe, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.